All right, welcome to another podcast. Today is going to be a special podcast. This is not just another interview, but in a way, this is going to be a joint experience where myself and a fellow brother, warrior, friend, artist is going to share our experience from the past year that we have just lived through. And in light of the October 7th attacks that we've had here, I think this is going to be a very interesting interview. And also, we'll be able to glean and reflect from this past year and the things that we've been involved in. But before October 7th, I got to meet Yair. We were working on a special project, a special film project. The director was asking for very specific guidelines of what he was looking for as an extra character for the film we were working on. And I told the director, I said, good luck. Funny thing was, right after I basically said, I highly doubt we have somebody like that. Yair and I ran into each other through social media. And the cool thing is that I didn't know about Yair beforehand was that he was becoming a much well-known name within the Christian world as an Israeli Jewish musician that was connecting to his audience around the world because his music is based off of scripture, and a lot of Christians around the world, worship leaders and you have it, are quickly connecting to that kind of music, and it just became a natural connection. And all of a sudden, he's finding himself exposed to a very large, broad audience globally because of that. And so we had the honor to get together to work on this film. And Yair, your background is very diverse, very different to your normal Israeli, I would say. Um, Tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into music? And how did you get into, I guess, connecting with a Christian audience as a religious, an Orthodox Jew in Israel? I mean, it's like two different worlds, really. Can you tell us about yourself and how that came about?
Hello, my friend. First, thank you so much for having me here. I'm so happy to take part in your podcast, and we have also like a kind of a beautiful background together. That after we met, because of the film, we made a couple of other videos on social media that become super viral about the sign in the on the walls in Jerusalem. That if you didn't see it, go check out about the letters. And we made a couple of other things together that were so amazing. So I'm very happy to be here again. And I want to wish you a lot of big luck with this new podcast. And I want to ask for all of my audience here that listen and see this podcast. Um, Follow Doron. Is a good friend and it's someone that you can trust, that give you the right um, news and perspective from Israel. This is the first thing. Second, about myself, I'm Yair. I'm 35. I'm married with I have a wife and 4 kids, one a boy and 3 girls. I'm living in Jaffa. I born and raised in Israel. I had no expectations in my life or any dream to speak in English in podcasts or to sing in English or to meet people and to speak English in social media. I thought that I'm going to be a singer that sing only in Hebrew, only to Israelis, and to make my grandma proud. This was the plan. Um, when I was 16, I started to play with a band, and it started to work really good. And but as every Israeli, when I was 18, so you need just to forget for a couple of years of your dream, about your dream, and you just go to the army. So I went to the army. I knew that I'm going to be a fighter because this is how I was raised, and this is what my family teach me, that I need to be proud that I'm Israeli. I need to take part in these 3 years to do the best as I can to this nation, to the people of Israel. So I knew that I'm going to be a fighter. I didn't have any plan to be in the unit that I end. That eventually I went to this unit that it's like similar to the Navy SEALs in Israel, and I also became an officer. Um, and instead of 3 years, I made 8 years almost. Um, so I always dreamed to come back and to fulfill my dream to make music. And when I went back to my dream and decided to leave the service, like to finish the service and to back to my dream to be a musician. So first I released some one album in Israel that was I can't say that I was A-list, but well, there was a couple of songs in the radio. I made songs with a couple of very famous singers in Israel, and and then I started to work on my second album. I released a song that called Refa Na. It was a prayer for healing for my grandma, and it was in the beginning of COVID. So it's like all God's plans, and it just became super viral. And then for the first time, I found myself in a place of meeting the Christian society, the Christian audience, the Christian communities, also a lot of Jewish communities, and a lot of people that just made the yoga on this song from all over the world. But yeah, but eventually, I think like the most surprising part of the success of the song was the Christian communities that um, I think stayed for. I think like my most of my audience now that listening to my music that following me in social media are Christians. Although I am an Orthodox Jew, and some of them didn't know it was in the radio in the U.S. the song, and it was in a lot of different places in the U.S. and by the way, all over the world, not only in the U.S., in Germany, in Brazil, and people didn't know who I am.
Hmm.
So with the years, they started to understand that I'm an Orthodox Jew, and the more I tried to run from it, it's become bigger and bigger till the moment that I decided like to say, okay, let's do it. And now I think 85 or maybe 90% of what I do is with the Christian communities and uh, yeah, trying to be a bridge between the Jewish people to the Christian communities. I can say that I feel that God put me in this place because that I'm a regular Israeli guy. I'm not coming from the US. I have no company behind, no, I don't know, no organization. It's just me, a regular Israeli guy that found himself in a situation that a lot of Christian people uh, listening to him, and
Hmm.
it's kind of yeah.
So right now, Israel finds itself in conflict with Hezbollah in the north, and have been since October 7th. But we have a mutual friend, and actually, that's actually because of you that we have this mutual friend. I didn't know Karin beforehand personally, and
Yeah,
through our relationship, you introduced me to Karin, and what what I think is interesting and it's something that we talked about during the time that we had this relationship developing is how like you and me are Israelis in combat, found ourselves defending the country, especially from the threat in the north many times. Yet here we have a mutual friend who is our neighbor. Can you talk a little bit about that, like how that came about, your contact with Karin and having a relationship with a Lebanese, even though we're supposed to be enemies, right? So to speak.
yeah. So I got a message on Instagram from Lebanese singer, and I actually I get so many messages, so I didn't see it for a couple of weeks, and then I think like a friend of mine, Shai, that she was singing with me the song Refa Na. She told me like there is like a Lebanese singer that's trying to reach out, and then I saw the messages from her, and I said like, do I need to answer? Because I felt like, Lebanon, and I'm sure that you feel the same. It's you can speak as Israeli on Iraq, Iran, even Turkey. I don't know, like even Egypt, because our generation didn't fight in Egypt.
Hmm.
But Lebanon, it's a place where our generation fought there a lot. It's a place where uh, we're getting rockets from Lebanon all the time for years. We grew up on the fact that we know that our biggest enemy is Lebanon. So
Hmm.
when I saw the message, I asked myself, like, is it okay that I'm going to collaborate with it, or just to say, I don't know, to share the fact that this lady translate my song and sing it in Arabic? Do I need to be part of it? And I'm happy that I did it. Like then I just answered her, and we started to talk, and I understood it, that yes, I don't understand anything. Although I fought there, although I saw a lot of things in the news about it, I don't know anything about Lebanon, because she really loved Israel, and she took a lot of risks to translate this song and to sing it in Arabic and to release it. And of course, people don't, not a lot of people know, but she asked me to sing it in Arabic. And at first I didn't want, and then she convinced me to do it, and we released it with no pictures, that people in in all over the Arab countries could sing it and not feel that it's like an Israeli guy,
Hmm.
and like kind of an undercover mission. And yeah, and eventually it's become, like, for me, kind of a very important lesson to understand that, you have people always, like, in the other side, you always have people that they are good people. And I think we learn a lot from this conversation between us, like, about, she always share that she remembered that she used to, not to hate Israel, but to feel really bad about what Israel doing, because she used to hear the jets under, above her house, and to know that, okay, now someone gonna die. And the same thing as me, for me, like, I used to listen to the sirens and to know that the Lebanese is shooting a rocket. So
Exactly.
um, just the one last thing about what she did. So when we released the song, so before she took her mom and her sister to Lebanon, she didn't want to put them in a risk. And as a fact, this is what's happened. Hezbollah came to her village to try to find their family, and all her family needed to disconnect from her, because they afraid. And
Wow.
she banned for coming back to Lebanon, and a lot of other things. And so, yeah.
Hmm. So there's an actual price to pay for collaboration with Israel, trying to find normalization in our relationship and so on. And so, first of all, Karin, she comes from a Christian background. She grew up as a Christian Arab, um, but of course, we also have mostly Muslim Arab neighbors. And personally, when I see an Arab who comes up from a Muslim background and they are able to see through all the lies about Israel and then become advocates for Israel, to their community, to those that follow them on social media, what have you, I really take my hat off for them, because what you just pointed out, I think, is important for the viewers to understand here, that the things we're discussing, it doesn't cost Yair or me as much as it does for the Muslim neighbors or the Christian Arab neighbors when they speak up and say, actually, Israel isn't bad. Israel isn't the enemy here. It's actually
Yeah.
terrorists, and they pay a personal price for that. So it's important for people to understand, when you see someone like that, take note of the fact that it's costing them. It's not for free, you know. Um,
Unfortunately, sometimes, like, Israeli people walking around the world, and Jewish people, and sharing a lot of lies about Israel, and saying
mm,
that they are like Karin. that now they can't, people in Israel mad on them and things like that. But this is all lies, because
Mhm.
they share lies, and then people in Israel really mad. But the truth is that, like, it's not that in Israel you can speak, and no one banned them to come back to Israel, even when they spread a lot of lies about Israel.
Mhm.
So yeah, my society, that where I'm coming from, is like, let's say, I don't love politics, but let's say my family and everyone's like the right side of the Israeli map, right? The
Mhm.
politics map. Although they was really proud of me, of seeing the other side, collaborating with the other side. No one ever told me like it's not okay. Of course, if I was saying like bad things about Israel, that that it's just lies, as other people doing. So of course the people in Israel didn't like it. But it's very hard to find things about Israel, and maybe you can share about it also. When you are as a fighter, you see how much we are the opposite of what the people think. We
Mhm.
like for example, the word genocide.
Mhm.
Like, I don't think I we have in history an army that is so not close to the word genocide as the IDF. You know,
Mhm.
like, we I'm as a captain sometimes so mad about my officers that give me orders to be too much like good for others,
Mhm.
for the enemy, and to make sure again and again and again and again. And sometimes I'm asking myself, like, do I need to put my soldiers in a risk because that you want to be too good to my enemy?
Mhm.
um, and this is kind of crazy, because this is what I'm sure that you can agree with me. This is what we feel as a soldiers. And then you went out from Gaza, or doesn't matter where, and you see in the news that you made a genocide. Like, what? I we're not even close. We're risking our lives to make sure that no one get hurt from the other side. No army is doing this. No
Mhm.
one. And by the way, I have to say, I don't want to say where, because I don't want to put myself. I used to train with some other countries when I was in my unit, and they was amazed. They were amazed from how we fight. Like, they said, "Why you put your people in such a risk like this? I will never do it. I will tell the jet to just destroy everything, and then I will come. Like, I will never
Yeah.
put my."
Yeah.
So
Yeah. This is actually something that I've been sharing about when traveling and speaking and trying to confront a lot of the lies against us, claiming that we either have or are committing a genocide. Which, by the way, the word genocide is a Hebrew term, so to speak, meaning it was a Jew from Poland who
yeah,
was yeah, he was trying. He was one of the lawyers that was part of the trial against the Nazis. So he actually had to create a term that people could understand what was it the Nazis committed, what's their crime. So he put together the word genocide. So this is a World War II term. Pre World War II, the word genocide didn't exist in the English language.
wow, I
And
didn't know it.
yeah, so it's actually from the Latin. It's two words from the Latin that they put together, and so I tell people, I say, you know how insulting it is to use a Jewish term, a Hebrew term that was created by a Jewish lawyer against Nazis, and then when I go to places like Norway and I see the flag of Israel, where they took the Star of David and converted it into the Nazi symbol, a swastika. I'm like, do you know how insane you guys are to try to make these statements and claims? So you're saying Jews are Nazis, those that the Nazis tried to kill, and that we commit genocide when the word genocide is a term that was created for what we went through as Jews. by the hand of the Nazis. It's so turned on its head. And you're right. It's really insulting when you know as an officer what the rules of engagement is, and what we are not doing. It's very frustrating.
I'm asking myself this question a lot. Like, if you said in the beginning of this episode that we're going to talk about October 7th, and also, like, it, it's another things like October 7th. It's also like um, um, a moment that you felt for a couple of weeks that the word really with you was really with you for a couple of weeks or a couple of people. Some people will say days, but I think it's a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then in a one day, it's all like boom, like all the word like against Israel. Everyone forget about what's happened in October 7th. People starting to say like things like, "What would you do if you were in Gaza?" And I just tell them, I don't know. I don't see myself like rape anyone. I don't see myself like kill babies. Doesn't matter what will
Mm-hmm.
be the whatever you say. And
Mm-hmm.
this is something that we feel. I feel a lot like from the beginning of the war. I speak with people. I'm traveling a lot. I'm from Gaza to the US. You also um, and you try to explain to people that I understand you. I understand because you get so much fake news all the time, so I can understand you. But in the same time, I'm asking you, please check the details. Don't
Mm-hmm.
believe everything you see. People, I think, don't understand that we, as Israeli, we all over the world, you have around 15 million Jews, and you have, I think, more than billion Muslims, maybe 2 billions. I don't remember the numbers, uh, but,
Yeah.
but 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 it's not a fair fight when you talk about social media,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and and this is a problem. What do you think about it? What do you feel about all the we call in Israel we call it asbara. People don't know this word in English. Like it's to explain. Like people have like in Israel we have like a terms that say like we need to explain.
Yeah.
Don't think everyone anyone use this term in the government. Even the government they say we need to explain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So Hasbara is Israel diplomacy, and we that's a great question because we're actually crippled by the term that we use in Hebrew. So Hebrew, and you have your clips, and this is something, by the way, that whoever's listening to this podcast, follow Yair, and you will see that he does a great job of picking the Hebrew terms that we have in Hebrew and explaining what does this Hebrew word mean, what's the root of it, etc. And Hasbara is actually connected with this not understanding really. Like we as Israelis, we didn't know what's the term that we use for diplomacy, because that's essentially what we're trying to do. And so we created a word called hasbara, which means to explain, like Yair was saying. And I think that's you're crippled in your mind as an Israeli, right? Because you're already in the position of I need to explain myself. And I use the example of
exactly,
the US. Does the US explain themselves, or do they just declare what they are? And I ask people, what do you think of America? Like, what's America to you based off what you hear America, communicate? Oh, home of the free, land of the brave, things that you hear about America all the time. Like, exactly. Does Americans feel the need to explain, about what does it mean to be an American patriot, and pay my taxes, praise God? No, you just are those things, right? You are about liberty and freedom and equality for all. This is what being an American is. And nobody in America feels the need to explain that. But you're right. We have this problem with our or a weakness in trying to get the message out of what is Israel, because it goes into a lot of Jewish jokes about, put so many Jews in a room to, and ask them a question about whatever, and you'll get 15 opinions. So it's kind of like that.
Yeah,
Israel is
yeah,
very
but
diverse. So it's hard
but
to say this is what Israel is in like one word, two word, like slogans. We're not very good at that. And that's because of the strength of we're actually very diverse. So it's part of our strength weakness, I think, is a good way to maybe look at it.
yeah, I agree. I totally agree that in one hand it's a weakness, in the other hand it shows that everyone in Israel can speak, and you have a freedom. You have
Mm-hmm.
freedom, but I think like what was surprising me, I think in October 7th, is that there was a moment when all of the Israelis and all the Jews all over the world was really united. And I
Mm-hmm.
think till today, like you have all the time the crazy people, the extreme people in the politics, and they have an interest all the time to make a lot of noise. But I think since October 7th, something really changed in Israel. People more united. People agree to put the conflict um, outside of the conversation because of the war, like to be focused on to beat the enemy. And this is, by the
Mm-hmm.
way, another promise of God that He always said, like that He give us. You see it in the Bible that He give the people of Israel like an outside enemy to make them united, and we still see it today. You can see it all over the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel that like the people of Israel becoming more and more united since October 7th, but it still didn't work um, when you talk with people outside of Israel. And this is like was a kind of surprise for me. Um, you will always have the crazy people that will say lies about Israel, but I think that no one will tell you, no Israeli, like 99% of the Israelis will never agree to say that October 7th had because of a reason. It's happened because of a reason. No one will agree to tell you that we are not right in this war. And no, maybe you will have a lot of other ideas of how to win the war, and maybe like with less power, with more power, with more conversations, with more I don't know, peace conversations or negotiations about the hostages, more or less. But everyone will agree that we need to win. We need to occupy the land in Gaza and to bring the hostages back. Maybe you will have a conflict if we need to stay or not. But
Mm-hmm.
everyone in Israel agreed that we need to go into Gaza and to bring the hostages. While outside of Israel, you hear people saying like crazy things, like like saying that Hamas is the I don't know, a freedom movement that I don't know. I never heard
Mm-hmm.
about someone that supports Hamas that he's free. Um, and no one in Gaza is free since Hamas occupied
Exactly.
the Gaza.
That's a
Um,
great point. That they claim to be freedom fighters, yet their supporters, yeah, in Gaza are not free, because if they were, I think, based on just what I have seen coming out from Gaza, the little that you'll see that comes out that is not all pro Hamas, um, it's with the risk of their lives when they critique Hamas, when they say, you should not have gone to war with Israel. That was a bad idea. That's not a popular idea. You're not going to survive. And I know of, was it three different journalists who spoke out and critiqued Hamas, and I think, was it two of them were beaten almost to death. One of them is right now missing. They don't know what came about the poor guy, and
well,
yeah, freedom fighters, right? Sure, tell me all about it. Is my reaction like, yeah, sure. You live where again? Europe, Canada. You don't understand the type of sick, demonic is a good term I like to use for Hamas, because it's not animalistic. Animals have better values than these people. They don't do Animals don't do to other animals what these people do. And so for me it's actually talking down about the animal kingdom, referring to these guys as animals. It's demonic. It's something that is very, very evil, that you can't put into words, and that you can't try to, how to say, to portray to people, unless you've seen it. And you've seen it. I mean, you fought in one of our most elite tier one units in the country. Um, and I think you can talk about, maybe, I don't know, some missions you've been on, or whatever you're allowed to disclose, of course. And what's that evil that you have seen with Hamas, and the fact that the people in Gaza are not free under Hamas.
I think that it have a lot of connection to what we said about Karin in the beginning, the Lebanese singer. What she did. Like, let's say she was like a spy, so you can understand that she just took a song of an Israeli singer, she translated it to Arabic, she sing it. It's a song for healing, like, it's no politics, and she
Mm-hmm.
was banned from coming back to Lebanon. She was in the front page of the newspaper of Hezbollah, one of the biggest newspaper, as a trader. That they wrote that
Mm-hmm.
she's like, with her face, and they come to find her and to kill her.
Yeah.
And they didn't know that she is not in Lebanon, so they come to find her and her family. So
Mm-hmm.
you can see that even like in the places of not necessarily going against Hezbollah or going against Hamas, you put yourself in a risk when you're in those countries. I
Mm-hmm.
want to say something maybe hard, but it's also have a lot. I'm not saying that everyone, but you have a lot of, like, a very high percentage of our Israeli Arabs that feel the same. That if they will speak in their villages inside of Israel, they are Israelis. They have like an Israeli ID.
Mm-hmm.
They put themselves in a risk. And we also saw like a lot of Knesset members, like how do I say it in English, like
Our parliament.
a
Our
parliament,
parliament.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that they didn't have the courage to say anything bad about Hamas. They said, we are against what they did, but we this is what's happening when this is crazy. This is like the worst day that I think the Jewish people had since the Holocaust,
Mm-hmm.
October 7th. And about things that I saw in the army, so I think, like, I can't share a lot, but I can say that I was a part of a very famous operation that called the Mevi Marmara. It was a big
Flotilla.
flotilla that came from Europe to Israel. We used to stop this. Um, they tried to came to actually to break the border in Gaza. So I for years we just had some operations that we used to give to the most young people in the unit, because it's not like a very exclusive operation, just to go and catch this boat and to bring them to Ashdod. Ashdod port is a port near to Gaza, and then they just coming back to Europe. It's kind of a very boring and not something that everyone in the commando unit want to
Yeah.
do. But
Yeah.
then
It's not your.
there was,
It's not your tier one op that you guys have
yeah,
trained for.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and then there was like a big flotilla. My story in this flotilla is kind of, it was in I think, it was August 2007,
I believe it's 2009.
I think. Nine? Yeah,
I think it
I
was
think.
2009, actually. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Sorry for not remember the day. And I have like a crazy story here that I
Yeah.
wasn't there on the on the helicopter because it's crazy. It's a long story, but this is was my team
Mm,
on this helicopter. And what I can share from here is less about the Muslim people that been there, but I want to talk about the Israelis that organized these operations
mm-hmm,
because it was like it's not a very high risk operation, but it was a very high risk because of diplomatic problems that could happen from this operation
mm-hmm,
because there was a lot of people from all over the world, from Europe, and a lot of people from like Turkish people, and we thought that there may be like will be like a one crazy person over there that will try to do anything, but to do something, but we thought that the idea was that we came in understanding that they maybe can like spit on you or like I don't know, this is the worst case, or maybe to say something.
mm-hmm.
um that eventually we understood that they had like weapons, they had knives, they had like um they came to fight, they took a lot of drugs to be able to fight till the death.
Mm-hmm.
They came to die, a lot of Muslim fighters um, that came in this boat.
And
And
this is about like what, like 10% of what was, of all those that were there that were just real freedom, freedom fighters that came to basically show their support for the Gazans. It was like what, like something I understand, like about maybe 10% that kind of took over
so
the boat and told
so
all the
so
freedom fighters to go down and go type away at your social media while we'll tell you when we get to Gaza, kind of thing, is what I understand, something like that.
yeah, I think it was maybe one maybe 10%, but people need to understand that this boat, the Mavi Marmara, was just one of the boats from there was seven boats.
Hmm.
This was the biggest one, including there were 700 people on this boat, including one of parliament member, Israeli parliament member
That's
that
right.
was there.
I
Like,
forgot about that. Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
that
Yeah, I remember her.
she she
Jeez.
was she still she stayed till she she wasn't banned. I think I don't remember. I think she just left because no one put a vote for her. But Israel didn't
That's right. We didn't
fix the
we didn't kick her
problem.
out. And yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't kick her out and we didn't punish her for that. And I remember seeing footage of her actually giving orders to the terrorists, telling them, "Hey, this is what they're going to do. Here, get out there. Do like she was literally giving orders to the assailants."
one of the
I mean,
there's like a story that I hope that I
it's like,
allowed to tell it, but yeah, I will tell it. It's a funny story.
yeah.
Um, one of my commanders that just two of my commanders just died in October 7th in the fight in Be'eri,
Mm,
and one of them was Eli Ginsberg, and he was like an amazing person, someone that I love so much, and so was so sad. You know, you can see a lot of things in on TV or even in the fight, but when it's someone that you love so much and you had so many experiences with
mm,
him, it was so hard, and I miss him a lot. Anyway, so one of the things that was really funny in this operation in the flotilla in the Mavi Marmara. So she came to him, this lady that I forgot the name. She her name was
Zuabi.
Zoabi, right,
Yeah,
Khalil Zoabi. So she came and she thought that she could, because she is like a parliament member, she could give orders to the fighters.
yeah.
So so like then I saw a couple of videos of this, but this was like a story that everyone just was laughing about it. That Ellie just told her like my commander is just like, Khanin, I'm here, the one that make decision, and just go away. I don't want to.
Totally.
I don't want to use the word, but go away.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
And he's like, it was so. He's a big guy, so she was
yeah.
like, whoa, okay, okay. She just left.
Yeah.
And but think about, like, we as a Jewish people, we know the word chutzpah. It's like,
Hmm.
say it in English. How do you use it in English?
Chutzpah. There's not a word in English. It's a Hebrew.
Yeah, I
Uh,
know, but how do you
yeah,
explain it? Like, uh,
like having a brazen boldness.
yeah.
I don't know exactly but yeah, basically you
But,
don't
but
take no for an answer.
so I felt that
Yeah.
this is what she had,
Mm,
and this is what the Arab people in Israel and outside of Israel for a couple of years
hmm.
felt, that they can have, they can do whatever they want, because we, one side want to make peace, one side is having, the wills to, with a lot of, to give a lot of efforts and take a lot of risks, um,
Mm,
for peace, and the
hmm.
other side just use these things to prepare for war, to getting prepared for war. And this is what we saw in Gaza, and this is what we saw in the Mavi Marmara, and this is what, because any other country, I think, would just shoot a rocket on the boat, and telling them, like, if you're not going back, I will shoot this rocket on you, and you're just gonna
Hmm.
die. But
Oh yeah.
Israel had a lot of wills to be good, and eventually, I can say that for me, as a very young soldier, it was such a surprise, and this is what builds me to be who I am. I think this operation is one of the of these, points in my history, because when we came back to Israel, even some Israelis, when they find out that we are the team that was there, they told us that we murdered, just just murdered people.
Yeah.
What
Innocent
was
protesters. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was so not true, so
Hmm.
not true. My friends went down from the helicopter with weapons that have a paint
Paintball
guns.
guns. Paintball
Yeah,
guns. Yeah.
paintball guns. Yeah,
Yeah.
because we wasn't allowed to shoot, because there are just civilians.
Hmm.
And most of my friends, and also me, including me, because I was in a training all for this operation also, we had like a paintball gun and just a one pistol that you have for if something getting worse.
Hmm.
So this thing that, people asking themselves, I think, when they see today what's going on in Lebanon, and how, Baruch Hashem, thanks God, I hope it will keep being like this, how Israel is bringing back the branding of the IDF, the strong army. When you
Hmm.
see all the things with the walkie-talkie and everything, that are all the things that
Hmm.
happen,
Yeah.
and the killing of Nasrallah and everything. So you ask yourself, like, how can it be that in October 7th, people with, I don't know, with knife, just cross the border and kill and raped, and how can it be like, it's not make sense.
Hmm.
So of course, I also believe, like, that this is like kind of something from God, because that we fought and we wasn't united in Israel. But in the same time, I can say there another thing that I see, that I think, like, the people that make decisions, um, were in the same place where we have been, and maybe like more extreme even, when we have been in this flotilla, to
Hmm.
try to be so good to something that it's like a pure evil.
Yeah.
And the Bible teaches this, that you
That's right.
can't be good for the evil.
That's right.
Oh, sorry, it's a long story.
No, I mean, this is great. And, I mean, you're able to share your personal story from the flotilla, which I got as somebody who didn't have access to all the secret information, so to speak, that's not public, right? So, you know, I remember I was in Sweden talking about Israel and whatnot, and trying to break a lot of these misinformation after the Second Lebanon War. And I'll never forget, this one group that invited me, a group of Christians, and they said, they're pro-Israel. But the head of the group says to me privately, he tells me, I've been trying to tell the group how what the Israeli commandos did on the flotilla was wrong. And I'm
Wow.
glad you're here to set the record straight. And I just looked at this guy like, you're you're about to be sorely mistaken, my friend, because I am not going to support this Israel bashing that you expect of me. That's for sure. And so I made the record straight. I said, listen, I wasn't there, but I know people who were, like yourself. At the time, we didn't know each other, so I didn't know, that your team was
Yeah.
was that. But I had friends from the from the unit, and they gave me some bits and pieces. And like I said, there's a lot of things that are classified that are not public information, and some of the stuff that I've also come to be aware of that I don't speak of publicly because it's just can create issues. But what we know for sure, and I said the simple matter of fact is that if a Coast Guard, U.S. Coast Guard, had boarded that ship, it would be with shotguns. It would be what's called lethal force, and the level of resistance that they met would have ended with many, many, many dead bodies. Full stop. What we did, I said, was we boarded the ship with paintball guns and, like you pointed out, with sidearms as a backup. That's a joke. No military in the world taking themselves seriously would do this. And you're a tier one unit, and you're holding yourself to a standard. And like you pointed out, with other militaries that you've worked with and other trainings that you've done, that they say we don't use a standard like that. Our standard operation procedures would not ever allow us to put our soldiers in a position where they could get hurt. And there were men that almost got killed. And that's something he wasn't aware of, this gentleman. I said, they were trying to take this guy down under, and they were going to perform a murdering of him that they were going to film and then spread, you know? Like, think about this, just like we saw on October 7th, right? How they were given orders to do brutal things, to film it, and to spread it on social media. So I was
Yeah.
like, this was actually the main goal that these guys were gonna hope as their greatest hope that they were gonna do. And I said, one of those guys that was on his way to his death by miracle was able to get out. He was already wounded, and he was able to break free and jump off the side of the ship and make it by miracle.
What's happened there
Alive.
is that what's
It's like,
happened is that they went out from the cockpit. I think I can
Mhm,
call it the cockpit where all the jets,
mhm,
and they went out from there to the like the front of the boat,
mhm,
and they didn't know that in the back there was like two soldiers. So that when they saw them coming with this my friends that they hold in their hands, and they wanted to murder them in front of the all the media that was like around, like with
mhm.
cameras. So they just shoot on them, and they just ran. And then those three friends of mine just jumped to the water. One of them, like, it took for him sorry, just two of them just jumped to the water, and one of them stayed because it was like done. The 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 report that we got is that this guy that was the tree one, that he didn't jump to the water. By the way, they jumped to the water because they didn't know that there are soldiers on the boat. They just went down from the helicopter, and a moment later they just took them to the core of the boat. They didn't know that we took control on the boat. All
Right,
right.
right, right.
So that's why
Yeah.
they jumped. They saw
So they were
themselves like,
disconnected. Exactly. They were disconnected from the whole group. And they
Yeah.
thought, yeah.
So they thought that they're alone on this boat, so they just jump. By the way, this is people don't understand why they jump. And the
Hmm.
third one, there was a report that he died because
Hmm.
the medic that was there, he just came to him and he thought that it's like he's dead. He got so much. They hit him in his head. Um, and by the way, he's a good friend of mine till today. I can't use his name, but till today he have
Yeah.
a lot of mentalic problems and problems with his memory and a lot of things that will stay with him till the rest of his life
Yeah.
from this operation. And it was a miracle that he was alive, that he was alive, that he is
Hmm.
alive.
Yeah.
Um, um, so yeah, people don't know all these facts, and I think that we came to the point before October 7th when your mercy is like become an evil.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? When you
Yeah.
have too much mercy, it's become an evil. Because if you walk on the street and you walk with your daughter and you see someone that you know from newspaper that he raped someone, I don't know,
Hmm.
and you just
Yeah.
say, I feel sorry about him, let's give my daughter to be with him a couple of hours. So you're
Hmm.
stupid.
Yeah.
And I think this is what we did. I have a lot of respect to our leaders. I have a lot of respect to the commanders, but I feel that we were wrong. And I have to say that in person, I felt it all over. Like when I was in the service, also, like I said, I disagree with these things. I feel not comfortable with put my people in a risk while I know that I put a lot of mercy to my enemy. And
Hmm.
again, I'm not saying that we need to kill children. We have to stay in our values, but people need to understand. There was something in the beginning of the war that Joe Biden, and I'm not gonna I don't want to get into politics because I think like sometimes it's not about the person, it's like the vibe of what you get from those leaders is what the people think. That he said that I will make sure that Israel is not doing anything bad in Gaza, like that they keep the civilians of Gaza safe.
Hmm.
And what I'm trying to explain to people that no one need to do it. No one need to take care to make sure that we're not doing anything to the civilians because this is how we grew up. Like
Right.
all the Israelis, of course, you always like have the extreme people in every society, but 99% of the people in Israel will never shoot a kid, will never shoot a woman, and will never shoot like someone that not put you as a soldier in a risk.
Hmm.
And if you want, I don't know how much time we have, but I have a short story from Gaza. If you want that I'm
Absolutely.
sharing.
Before you do though, I'm going to share this Jewish saying, and this is what Yair and I are talking. This comes from the Midrash and basically Jewish wisdom. And what it says is this, and this is derived from the Bible. This is from the rabbis who have studied, and this is one of the conclusions they come up with, which is very relevant to this conversation Yair and I are having. And it's a conversation that we as a society need to ask ourselves: how far are we willing to go with showing our mercy to the enemies of Israel, which we go beyond the US or Canada or France or Russia or Norway or Sweden? Anyone who thinks they're better than us when it comes to uh, morale, you're not going to. We surpass that with all due respect, and that's because, like you said, Yair, it's in our DNA of the soldiers. It's in Ruach Tzal that we teach our soldiers the Ten Commandments, so to speak, of the IDF. And so anyhow, the saying is this: it says, "He who is compassionate to the cruel will ultimately become cruel to the compassionate." And so that's an English translation of the Hebrew saying.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly it. You're right. I mean, this is something that that is it ends up biting us in the butt, so to speak, in the long run, and we need to be careful on how far we're willing or how compassionate we go, because I think there's a certain line where you cross, according to the sages' wisdom, is that you go too far. So you have to know where that border is, and I'm pretty sure that we haven't crossed it in the negative, or being cruel to our enemies. Quite the opposite. We've crossed this line of being too merciful, and we need to come back, and we need to say, okay, we need to redefine where we show our mercy to our enemies. And tell us about
One,
Gaza,
one,
about a story that you have in Gaza.
one of the problem that the reason why like this um, um, the people the reason why people like why we are saying this is because that in the moment that you cross this line of being too merciful and you put yourself in a risk,
Hmm.
so you cruel to yourself,
Exactly.
because you need to remember that you also have yourself, like
Hmm.
and for some societies it's even not make sense what I'm saying here, because no one will put in a risk his family. When I'm
Hmm.
traveling to the US, when I speak with people and telling them what we did, and they're saying like, no way, like I will never do it, I would just never put my people in
Yeah.
a risk, I will never do it. But we are, as a Jewish people, we have this problem sometimes that we're too merciful.
Yeah.
um, I want to give you an example from Gaza. There is like a places in Gaza that call Mignan. It's like a safe zone where,
Forward operating base.
yeah, that you just like all the people from all the unit coming to this place. It's like sometimes 3, 4, 5 buildings that we took control, make sure that everything is safe, and people just live there, like kind of a small base in the middle of the neighborhood.
Hmm.
So I came to one of them and I needed to do like a work over there. So I was the head of this operation. I came to the guy that is the head of this front base, and I asked him like, what are the rules here? Because each place is a different rules. Like if it's a place that was occupied like 3 months ago, so it's not the same thing like as a new neighborhood that you just came in. There's different rules, or when you're allowed to shoot, not allowed, or what are the risks. There is like always when you come to a new place, you ask like what the risks are, and what do I need to make sure that I don't know, to make what do I need to be aware of.
Yeah. Snipers, RPGs,
Yeah.
IEDs, booby traps. Like, yeah, all
So
the all the all the nice things like that. Not to mention tunnels in every corner that you
yeah.
encounter.
So he told me like, so I told him what the orders are, and he told me like, I'm not sure. You want to listen to a story? And I said like, what? I never heard this kind of an answer.
I know, right?
But of course there are orders, and then he told me that no one will say that there are no orders. But but
Right.
but but there, he just told me like a couple of days ago, I was standing here exactly where I stood when I stand with him, and he said like, I see 3 kids coming to our directions, and they are not allowed to be here.
Hmm.
Like the orders is that I need to shoot to the air, to shout on them, and then they need to run,
Hmm.
and then to shoot them if they are not
Hmm.
leaving.
Hmm.
Um, but he said like, listen, I have kids, I couldn't do it. I just shoot to the air. I shoot very close to them. They didn't run, and they were standing and looking with they came with bicycles, and then like they shout on them. They didn't want to leave. Eventually, they shoot more couple of times and they left. But they came really close to the safe zone. Um, and couple of hours later, someone came with an RPG. It just from a tunnel or something just came out to the same place, shoot two RPGs on a tank that they have there, and three of his soldiers just died.
Mm.
And he told me like, would you shoot these kids or not?
Mm-hmm.
He understood later that these children, they gave the intelligence to these people.
Yeah.
These terrorists sent these kids to give them intelligence on the base.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked me a question: would you shoot them or not?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so hard because
Yeah.
in one hand you say like, because of them two of his soldiers just died. In other hand you say like, I'm not going to shoot on children.
What you just shared there is part of the dynamics of the battlefield that I think a lot of people are not they're not exposed to. All they hear is that we commit genocide, we're brutal, savages, etc., and all this nonsense. The story you just shared, this is stuff that I've experienced firsthand as well with the units that I fought with in Gaza and so on, and had so many of our men die because of our compassion, because of our unwillingness to 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 shoot spotters, you know, that are unarmed and so on, right? So there's all these dynamics that are very difficult on the battlefield. And what I wanted to ask you is, did you know anybody from the October 7th attack, that from either from the civilians that were murdered and or any of the warriors, your fellow friends and teammates that ended up being killed in the response to stop the enemy and in the war effort since October 7th? And how has that affected you? Um, how's that affected you in your, I mean, in your day to day? Because that's a lot of weight to carry. I would say.
So I know couple of civilians that were injured, um, and as I have two officers, the commanders that I had, that just died in the first day. One of them were in the how do I say it? תחתוך לי את זה, שב"כ. Um,
Mhm. They were in the
one,
Shin Bet.
one of them were in the Shin Bet, high officer in the Shin Bet, and one of them just was he was my commander, and he came there um, um, with his team. He was in a different unit because he went up with the ranks, so he went to a different unit. But he came to fight with my unit over there in Be'eri,
Mm-hmm.
and he also died. I shared the story about him. Like, his name is Eli Ginsberg,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not easy. I have to say that if I'm taking back on time to October 7, it was um, one of the most hard day that I ever had, um, because you see like your country in a situation you couldn't dream that you will be in this place, but in
Mm-hmm.
the same time, you know the faces, you know the families, you know the
Mm-hmm.
people, you know that like
Yeah.
every person that just fight over there and died. And I had, by the way, another two friends of mine that just injured, not
Mm.
civilians, like also like two of my soldiers, that my former soldiers, that was
Yeah.
injured in the first day. And you to everyone that, like, when people say like 1,000 people, each one of them have a face, a family, had dreams,
Mm-hmm.
like as his own jokes and his own friends.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not easy. I
Yeah.
had like a very moving um interview that I made in the beginning of the war. A woman, um just friends of someone, just sent me a message that she saw that I'm really um I have a lot of followers on social media, and she asked me if she can come to make an interview, if her friend can come and make an interview in my social media. And I said, like, who is she? And she said, like, she's a mother of two kids that just um like two hostages.
Wow.
And I said, like, what? You want to come to my social media, like to my Instagram? Like,
Yeah.
by the way, after this video that I made with her, I was banned on Instagram to do live videos. That this is another crazy thing that it still didn't.
Yeah.
It, they didn't solve it till today.
Wow.
Um,
Same here, by the way. Since the war, I've been banned from doing any lives and that kind of thing as well.
and this is crazy because I give her the stage to come and speak about her kids that in Gaza. It's like,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
so I ask her, like, why do you need me? You have CNN, you have Fox News. You know, it's the most important story now on the news.
Hmm.
She said, like, we have there are hundreds of hostages. No one want to put me in an interview. And I was like,
Wow.
wow. You know, suddenly you understand. You start to understand the size of this craziness of what we are passing through. You know,
Hmm.
till you hear it from people, you don't understand. You see numbers. When you
Hmm.
see this mother, so you're just saying, like, wow. Anyway, she came to my Instagram. You can, by the way, everyone that watching this video, this podcast, you can go to my Instagram and to search for it. It was in October, but you can find it.
Yeah.
And she said, like, what was surprising me, it was an hour interview, but what was so surprising for me was she said she is from the very left side of the Israeli politics map.
Hmm.
And she used to have people that they used to support them from Gaza to come to work in their village. It's called kibbutz. It's a kind of community that live in share money and share things with each other. So they, as a community, they also they always they used to be like against the government and pro the Palestinian people.
Hmm.
So she used to give people charity and support them and to send them to study and to give them opportunities to bring them into their village to work there. And she understood later that the guy that everyone in the village loves so much, he was the one that gave all the intelligence to Hamas
Hmm.
to go
Hmm.
into the village, to her village, till she understood that the Hamas, when they came to the village and couldn't open the doors of the shelter, so they just shout the names of the people in this house because they had like a list that they got from this guy that
Hmm.
she was his supporter.
Yeah.
She said that they really love him and they felt so sorry about him that he's really poor and they want to give them an opportunity. What does he do with this? What did he do with this opportunity? He
Hmm.
made the list with. Then they found the list with names, with hours when they're gonna sleep, when they wake up, when they go to school, when they everything. They knew everything on each family, and
Yeah.
that's why they could shout from the outside of the shelter, "Hey, David, please go out! It's the army, it's the
Hmm.
IDF." So people just opened the shelter and went to them, and then they took them.
Yeah.
And she said, "I don't believe in peace anymore." And
Wow.
it was like, wow. And I think this is the moment when we talk about, like, when you have too much mercy till you become um, with no
Cruel to the
mercy.
merciful. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's also something that it was very hard for me to hear because I don't feel that I'm too merciful, but in the same time
Hmm.
I can say that I don't believe in peace anymore, even after October 7th.
Hmm.
So I feel that sometimes when you take yourself too much to the extreme, with your
Hmm.
mercifulness, then you can find yourself like in the other side. So
Yeah.
we need to find the middle. We need to remember that we need to
Yeah.
have borders. We need to have limits of how much we have mercy, but in the same
Hmm.
time, it's also to protect us because we don't
Right.
want to be cruel.
Right.
This is what I learned from her.
Wow. That's an amazing story. Wow. So Yair, you've since the war, and by the way, we also met
Yeah,
during the war on the
we met in
battlefield.
Gaza. Yeah,
We met, yeah. And so our paths crossed, not planned. It just like that. That's the intensity of all the units and operations that were happening, and it was just cool that to see a friendly face, so to speak, outside of my team, and you know we had to do some hard fighting. You know this just as good as any, and your unit took the highest number of fatalities in one day than in all the history of the unit, if I am not mistaken. And that's also been the same for most of the tier one units of the Air Force and the all the special forces units, Yamam, etc. Right? Um, how would you say that's affected, your unit and then the other units morale? You know, what would you say? You know, like, are you able to move on and in spite of those heavy losses and able
so
to stay mission focused? You know what I mean? Because that was a heavy blow.
I
And I
don't
think
I don't I'm
that's
not sure.
something people don't realize. You know what I mean? They don't
Yeah,
realize. I mean that because your unit doesn't end up in those kind of situations, and neither do all the other tier one units that I'm aware of. And just the numbers were,
yeah. So I'm not sure about the numbers you gave,
yeah,
but yeah, we had a lot of people that were injured and killed in a very few hours.
yeah,
But we, you know, I feel what I'm telling myself all the time, and I think that like the most of the Israelis um, feel is that we have no other place to go.
hmm,
You
yeah,
know, and when you compare what we had in October 7th to the Holocaust or
hmm,
to the exile from Spain, um, um, so you say like thanks Hashem, thanks God that we have these units, that we have
hmm,
weapons and we have army. So yeah, it's not easy, but I always remember like I still have a grandfather that passed through, not passed through, sorry, like that have been in the Holocaust. That like
hmm,
he 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 was a small child, but he remembered a lot of things from the Holocaust. So when I speak with him, it's kind of a reminder for me of, you know, what do you compare yourself to these things? You know, it's nothing. October
yeah,
7th, it's nothing. It's just maybe a couple of hours in the Holocaust. That's all. If
hmm,
you compare the numbers and compare the the craziness that you had in the Holocaust. That so I think this is what people outside of Israel don't understand. Also, I think like the Hezbollah didn't understand it, and now they started to understand it. And I think that the Iranian people don't understand it, and also like some of the people in the U.S. and all over the world, they don't understand that we are really serious about coming back to our homeland to
hmm,
stay, to build an army, to be strong, to move to the
hmm,
next step of the redemption. Like
yeah,
I feel people don't really understand how much this thing is so serious,
yeah,
and this is why I think like people won't break out, and people staying strong because
hmm,
we know that we have no other option, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that you feel the same. I don't know. Let me know. Do you feel the same?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, we shed our tears. We were broken, from our good friends that died that we had to bury. But once we moved on from the mourning, the grieving, it was putting your mind back onto the mission objectives and what are we going to do to finish what they started, what we started together, right? What we
Yeah,
as a body of defenders, um, and that is to me that is, I mean, this is what we trained for, you know, and nobody said it was going to be easy, and I think that's also something that you've learned through your training that was way harder than what I've been through. Um, is that all those hard lessons learned in the training was so that when we get to the real thing, you realize you can overcome this because you've been through such hard training that was preparing you mentally, physically for these kind of scenarios. Um, and so I agree with you. I mean, what we need to do is to let the world know that it's because of defenders like us that, in light of the Holocaust, which was a way greater um, uh, um, trauma to the nation of Israel, that so also was this very traumatic. But the difference is that today we can say never again, and that our people aren't set like sheep to the slaughter to be murdered, but they have to come through us. And so that was my mentality, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah, it's like, well, you're gonna have to come through me. You're not getting to my family. And something that we say in my unit is that there's no one else is coming. That's like the saying
yeah,
within our unit. No one else is coming. You're it. And so I think that that builds a resilience and that builds an understanding of a you know yeah, I mean, it's a different mentality, right? I mean, it's not like the big army's going to go save me, right? If you're an
yeah,
American, oh, they're going to send the Marines if it gets too crazy. They're going to send the Rangers. It's like, no, you're it. This is it. There's no one else.
yeah. You
And
are.
so
You
that
you can be a singer. You can be whatever you want. A lawyer. But now
yeah,
you took the gun and you're in Gaza. This
yeah,
is very special in Israel. And there is like another something like very famous that we say in Israel. Um,
yeah,
that I'm sure that this saying that we say that we are keep on moving to make sure that this their dad um that they didn't die for nothing.
yeah.
These
Hmm.
people that gave their lives to this country, to us. So now we are fighting to make sure that was nothing, that they didn't die for nothing, and it's a big responsibility
Mm,
because the people that just passed away, it's okay, it's a one thing, but their families, you know
yeah,
how can you stand in front of them telling them that you can't do it anymore after
yeah,
they gave the loved ones,
mm,
to this country, to you, for us
yeah.
to be able to sit here and to speak and to sing, and I don't know.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a lot of responsibility, and we are carrying on our shoulders a lot of responsibility of this light, this promise from Abraham till today, that we are carrying on ourselves, um, and hoping to bring it to our next generation to understand you are Jewish, you need to be proud. I'm not getting into this um, faith politics, okay? But
Hmm.
you need to know who you are. You need to know where you come from, who is your family, and what is your identity,
Hmm.
and to be proud. And I think
Yeah,
that for 70 years, um, we became a different Jew than we used to be before. And I'm so honored, although all this crazy and hard year that we passed through, I'm so honored to live in this generation because,
mm,
as you said, we have the option to fight, and
Hmm.
this is a big change.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
Yeah. So as we're going to wrap this interview up, um, one of the things I wanted to ask you is, um, well, it's two last questions really, but one is to also plug what you and I have been privileged to take part of, the I Am Israel movie project, which is actually what brought us together.
yeah.
Um, what would you like people to know about this film, and why should they watch it? Um, and what does this mean to you? This project? I mean, to me, this is, I can say a lot about it, but
Yeah. I
yeah.
can say that I'm not doing like as a singer, so you get a lot of messages and opportunities that people feel that it's opportunity for you.
Hmm.
But this movie was something else, because when I understood that you're gonna speak, like this movie gonna speak about um, something that no one speak about, in mostly in the Christian communities, the temple
Hmm.
and Jerusalem. And of course, everyone speak about Jerusalem, but in this point of view of the temple
Hmm.
of Mount Moriah, where is it? What is it? What are the prophecies that we have to the future for this place? Who are those people that have connection to this place, like me, someone that comes from the Levite family tribe,
Hmm.
that I have like a lot of jobs that I need to do there,
Hmm.
also to sing. Um, so for me, it feels like wow. It's if people will watch it, and I'm sure that people will watch it, this is something that I want to be part of. I feel that it's so important, and it's such a well done, made. I love how it's so professional. Like David is doing like an amazing job. You also became like an. I told you, you became like an real actor after this. After this film will be out, so you're gonna be
Yeah.
you're gonna have a lot of proposals from Hollywood. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so so this is for me it was is amazing, and
Yeah.
I really love the fact that it's like a kind of a doco that gives the truth. It's not like a story that you see people. So I really
Hmm.
love the idea. I really love this movie, and thank you
Yeah.
for the opportunity to be part of it. Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm just honored that you took part in that, and I think your contribution in the film is one of the big highlights of the film. So I'm going to make sure to have a link to that. It's going to soon be released, actually, because we finished production, we finished all the filming, and right now we're literally just finishing the last part of the process in the post edit process, which, as you point out, David is done such a good job, both in directing, but also in this cutting the film and making it into this really, I think, a masterpiece. And I'm just really proud of what he was able to produce there. And and so, yeah, people, if you want to see Yael's story, to see it in a very unique, a very eye opening, impactful, that's going to really change your perspective about the Temple Mount, about the Levitical priests that will be worshiping, and how Yair, in a way, you're. I mean, it's a house of prayer for all nations, but really, you're in a way, through your talent with music and as a Levite, you've already impacted the nations through the Christian world. And I hear you, singing Hebrew versions of songs that Christians have been singing at, in worship, like all over the world. And here you're bringing it, with a Hebrew text. It's really impactful. You're already impacting and connecting with those nations that I believe one day will have the ultimate worship at the temple. And to me, that is so cool to even know you and to be connected with you. And
My
for
best
me,
friend.
that's the future, right? I mean, this is, like you said, the redemption. That's what it looks like, and it's going to come through the ashes of war, conflict. It's not going to come easy. It's not going to be handed to us on a silver platter. And in a way, that's, I think, what this film is representing. And this is kind of like the silver lining out of this really long year of battle and fighting, and it's still not finished. And God willing, we're going to finish the job soon with these terrorists that threaten our people and threaten their people. Not even their people technically, but where they're operating out of, if it's Lebanon or Gaza. Um, so this is the last question. Really, is as a caveat to this, how do you see the future of Israel in light of October 7th? Like, what is your hope of the future of redeeming all of this tragedy and what we've gone through and are still going through right now?
So with the years, I started to understand that I'm not a prophet. I had some, I had some idea of how the future is gonna look like, and I always like. Uh, I'm not saying that I'm wrong. I have sometimes that I see things,
Yeah.
but but I like in the short future is very hard to say because sometimes things that look terrible for you, with the years you understand that it was for good.
Mm.
So it's very hard for me to answer this question, but I can say that in my concerts that I do, the worship events that I doing in all over the world, I'm always saying that this is kind of a rehearsal for the real thing. As you
Hmm.
said, a house of prayer for all nations. So I believe that not because this is what I feel, this is what I read in the Bible, that with the years the nation will gather in Jerusalem to sing and to worship and to pray for God. We will
Hmm.
understand as kind of, let's say, a company. We will
Hmm.
understand what the job of one of us, each one of us, like um, each one of us, like Jewish, non-Jewish, Christian, Muslims, have something that God wants from him. It's not a
Hmm.
competition. And
Hmm.
when you understand that, like if you have a company that everyone is competing with each other, so this company will just fall. And this is what we see in the world right now, that it's a fight for, I think that more than 200, 300 years that the whole world is in a fight. So we had some breaks, but it's still the world war. We're still in the world war. And
Hmm.
this will end when we will understand that each one of us have a purpose in this world. And I'm talking about
Hmm.
me, about you, and I'm talking about nations. Each
Hmm.
one of the nations have a purpose, of something that God wants from them.
Hmm.
And I pray that we will do this research. We're gonna have Rosh Hashanah like in a few days.
Hmm.
It's like the head of the year. We call it the head of the year in Israel. Rosh Hashanah. Rosh, it's a head.
Hmm.
And what we are, our tradition is that before the new year is starting, we're not just like celebrating and everything. It's a very hard days, like not hard, but it's a day of compassion.
Serious, like
Yeah,
serious. Yeah.
yeah, a serious days that you are coming to yourself and asking yourself what you did wrong and what you can do better for the next year. Um, and I feel that like if we are as a people, we will do it. Not only because it's now Rosh Hashanah, like the beginning of the year, like because what we're seeing in the world, all these fights that we see all over the world, it's not coming from nothing. It's something that we
Hmm.
are doing as a societies in our country, the way that we are um, talking to each other, the way that we speak to our neighbor, that way the I don't know, the things that we are seeing in our phone, everything. So you need to ask yourself, like, do I as a am I as a person in a place that I want to be? And if the answer is no, it means that you can't say talk to your government and telling them like you are corrupt, like you're the most terrible thing, because you need first to fix yourself. And I believe that if
Mm-hmm.
each one of us will do this process with yourself, then you will see like societies that just you will see a healing. And
Mm-hmm.
this healing, one day, I'm praying that it will be soon, will bring us to the place that we understand who we are and what is our mission in this world, and then you can work together in harmony,
Mm-hmm.
and instead of fighting. I'm praying for it.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Well, I guess I can add to that also. Rabbi Yuda Glick, one of my favorite human beings, really, who just has so much love and heart for the world, and not just for the Jewish people, and the way he's able to reach out to the world and welcome the nations. And he calls it to make the music. That we're
Yeah,
it's about we come together and to make the music, right? And so I love the way he expressed that when we come together by God's help, that when we come together in that right attitude and right mindset and heart, then it's exactly that. It's like music, right? If it's just a bunch of words, right, it becomes chatter, it becomes noise. But music, right, it's when you take a bunch of words and and notes and whatever, and when you harmonize those in a harmony, it's beautiful to the soul, it's healing, it's uplifting, it becomes impactful. But by
yeah,
themselves, just the words or just the banging of a drum or whatever by itself, it can be annoying. You just hear a guy do blah 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 blah. You're like, okay, what is he doing?
yeah. And the
Or some,
problem is that
you
now
know,
we are instead of working in harmony, where the drummers say I need to lead, and the
yeah,
guitarist said I need to lead, and each one, yeah, and it
yeah,
it will never work till we want to understand. Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's like, yeah.
yeah. So Bezrat Hashem, by God's grace, we'll be able to live to see that with our eyes when the
Amen.
nations of the world, Israel, leading and welcoming, that we'll be able to make that music together and be able to worship the God of creation of the universe, that has given us those abilities and has created us for those purposes, like you pointed out, that you find that real purpose as a human, and that will be a day of healing for the nations. Um, it actually says that there will be a stream from Zion that will come out, and that water will go and feed the Dead Sea, and the Dead Sea becomes a living body of water. It says that there'll be trees that will grow along the Dead Sea, and that they will be giving their fruit for all 12 months of the year, so for all season, and that the leaves will be healing for the nations, right? So that's the prophecy. That's what the Torah tells us, and that is the future, and that's a future of hope. And you have to have eyes of hope and faith to see that day come, in light of especially what we've been through. And I look forward to that day, and I look forward to be led by you in the temple and your fellow Levites,
Yeah, let's do it.
and bring my children up and be like, hey, there's Yair, you know, and it'll be a real beautiful day, and we have to hang on to that hope and faith in this time of darkness, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There is a hope, and that hope is in what God has already promised us, and we just have to hang on to it.
Yeah, amen. Yeah.
Yair, thank you so much for this interview, brother. You're such a light to the nations. May Hashem continue to use you powerfully, and be a
Thank you, my
voice of
friend.
light and hope to many around the world. Thank you for your service for the state of Israel, for serving where you have in the most elite parts of our military, leading men to war, and for laying your life down during the season, leaving your home, your family, your kids, and everything to go
I
and
feel
to
not
fight.
comfortable
Thank you.
that you are saying. I feel not comfortable that you are saying this. A person that left his house for almost a year. But yeah, all right.
but yeah. So no, but I'm grateful for every one of the warriors that really has laid everything aside, because I know, many of us can come up with excuses, many of us can come with reasons why not to, and
Yeah.
and you're one of those that's found a reason why yes to, and I really honor you for doing that, and thank you. And thank you for all for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. Make sure to share it, to subscribe, share, all of that good stuff. Follow Yair. All the social media links will be in the description, and we look forward to seeing you in the next podcast.